Welcome back, everybody, for another week of the Triathlon Preview Show, episode 35.
Hey, everybody.
So we had a pretty exciting weekend last weekend. We got another exciting weekend this weekend. Just a lot of races, a good time for some racing. Let's catch up on last weekend real fast a little bit.
So we'll start over. I guess we can start in Germany with the two big races there. So WTS Hamburg. There was a bit of controversy, I guess, in the men's race with Richard Murray flipping the bird and then getting DQ'd. What was your opinion on that?
I think he should have got DQ'd. I have no problem with him being DQ'd. Now, did I think he should have been DQ'd? No, but I have no problem with it. I think he's a professional. I mean, isn't that everybody keeps talking about the professional triathletes having more of a I don't know what is more, I guess, the more long course, but being professionals and treating themselves as professionals, and Ironman treating them like professionals. Well, I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess in the ITU rules, like obscene gestures and swearing at officials and stuff is like one of the first things they list. So I actually wasn't surprised. I think if he just would have, like, he was yelling, not yelling, but he was asking the person doing the timing when he took the penalty, what was it for? What was it for? I think if he just would have said that and then ran to the finish and then asked what it was for, I think he would have been fine. But I think when he flipped basically the whole stadium off or wherever it was, and then slapped the sign coming in, and then came across the line, and then pounded on the control room window. I think that I was like, oh,
yeah. I mean, that's like 4 strikes. Yeah. I mean, that's way past. I mean, you won. Okay, cool. Like, we understand you're frustrated, and obviously, I mean, at least from the live coverage, it looked like it was a pretty blatant violation of the rule. It's, not like, like the corner of his wetsuit was hanging out, it was like, all right, it's a violation. And then 4 strikes. Yeah, it is what it is.
yeah.
I think I've had no problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because, like, it ruins his rankings, as far as the finale. But I mean, he just seems like he's very intense. Like, even on the start pontoon, like, they panned across and they came across him, and he was like, blowing air out of his mouth and flaring his nostrils. And I was like, oh man, he's like ready to go. So it's like, you need to have that passion, but you got to channel it to the right place. And I think he just got amped up.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he's aggro.
He looks good, though. How about that? Let's just say he looks good, and he's on the right track for Rio.
Yeah. And he has another 4 weeks to get his swim even better. So he'll be dangerous. What about the women? How awesome was it to see Katie win? I was so excited.
Yeah, it's so I think at the beginning of the season, we looked for her to basically just come right out of the start gates and just have that amazing start, continuing last season. And I think it was a slow start for her. Obviously, basically kind of going down to the race in Yokohama for her, coming back from the run and basically passing all the girls, USA girls, and claiming the final spot. And it's all coming together, it looks like. Obviously a win now, so she's on a high note leading into Rio. I think it gives her a little self-confidence, and just in herself and her coaching.
Yeah, for sure. I think maybe, at the beginning of the year, you're probably like a little nervous, like you have to secure that last spot. And maybe she was overthinking a little bit and not just racing. And now I think she's just racing, and it's a good time to do that, because that's all you got to do in Rio. You just go race. That's it. So I think that was good. And, I think you saw the opposite kind of with Gwen. I think she was, probably in the middle of a really big Rio, and was just a step off. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, though. I don't, I mean, she wasn't that far behind, and it was a sprint race, not an Olympic race. So I think she's in a good place. And I think, for Gwen, she just wants to get to Rio healthy and ready to go and ready to race.
Yeah, I mean, obviously her big goal is Rio. So you think you kind of mentioned it, that she was kind of in the back of the second pack coming in transition. You said you read a race blog, just kind of a little intimidated, or just taking it easier on the bike, I think, or into T2. Make sure she didn't
Yeah.
crash. I mean, she ran her way from the second bike pack to third. Fastest run split. I don't think there's any need for concern. She's doing what she needs to do to be healthy and ready to go on Rio.
Right. And I mean, she did, the next day she did the mixed relay where the USA won that and she let it off and got them a lead. So I think she's, fine. I mean, she ran like 15:44 or something at the Raider Day. So I agree with you. I think, it's just like for a second, she's like, shit, I don't want to crash here in Hamburg. Like I want to get to Rio, It might've been in the back of her mind because Javi's out. Like she's like, you don't want that to happen either.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's move over to Challenge Roth. Obviously, we had the world record go down. Jan beat it he did 7:35, 25.
35, and the record was 41 by Andreas Rehlert. So, I mean, not a huge stomping, but I mean, pretty darn fast.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at, I saw an article about his bike and just how he dialed in. It's a custom front end integration. I mean, the whole thing is for him. There's no like stock component on the whole thing. I mean, so his aerodynamics are obviously all dialed in, and then of course he's just the strong athlete. Like that's a pretty nasty combination.
Yeah, he's got the equipment and he's got the engine, and I think you saw that, and we'll see how he recovers and gets ready for Kona. Honestly, I think he'll probably be fine as long as he doesn't push the training up too soon and allows the recovery. I think just fine. I mean, luckily Roth has a lot of the run is on kind of a compacted like trail, so maybe a little less banging on the lip, which will be good. But I think he'll be ready to go for Hawaii.
Yeah, and then on the women's side, we had Daniela Reef. She was up, I think I remember, 10 minutes on the world record getting off the bike.
Yeah, she rode 4:31, which is just crazy fast. And it was funny. I was, Seto in his mind games. He's like, she was sick. We didn't even know if she was going to race. I didn't think she'd go close to this. And I'm kind of like, are you playing? I think you might be playing games. So, I mean, you have to have an inkling that she's capable of that.
Yeah, obviously she ended up winning, and she is racing this weekend, which we'll talk about later. So we'll see how that impacts the rest of her season.
Yep. And then over here, we had the big upset of Lionel Sanders, which prompted like a slow twitch thread. Like, what's wrong with Lionel? It's like, he can have an off day.
I mean, yeah, you go into a weird format and where initially you would think, oh, Lionel's got it in the bag, even if he didn't have it in the bag already with only biking and running. And then I read his race report, and it was like, look, I just went too hard. Like, I just went all out, basically, and see where I went, and it didn't work out. And I think he has some shits again.
Yeah, where it went was in his pants.
So Matt caught him, I think, 10 mile 10 or something later in the run.
Yeah. And I mean, I had a message with Matt and he was pretty shocked. So I don't think he expected it. I mean, I think everyone, when they said duathlon, they were like, I guess we're racing for second. But, that kind of stuff can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. That's why you race on the day.
Yeah. And then Lauren Barnett ended up winning the female race.
Yeah. And that, the way that played out, I mean, Sarah is obviously strong on the bike and the run too, but she lost that opportunity to get out in front of the race. And I think that probably cost her maybe the win a little bit. Had it been a triathlon, she might've been closer to the front and maybe more mentally into it. I mean, you never know mentally what these delays do to people and, ways. I'm not saying Sarah is, but I'm just saying like, mentally you have to be ready to kind of face whatever the day gives you, and if you're not, it can throw you slightly off too.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to this weekend, and we got a lot of races to go over. So we'll start, start east, work our way west.
Yeah.
All right.
Switzerland.
Yep, Ironman Switzerland. I guess initially we'll go over one thing actually real fast. So Ironman updated their little entry system. So they have 2 different categories now, an entry list and a start list. So hopefully maybe in the future we'll be able to get more accurate start lists for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the updates to the start list will happen, and I think everybody wants that, especially the media. So it'll be good to see how that develops. But Switzerland, just real quick, it looks like it might be a little rainy and not too cool though, probably in the 70s or high, but there's predicted for some rain. 1 loop swim, 2 loop bike, there's a climb in it, and then 4 loop run that's flat, and it's kind of along Lake Zurich. So nice and scenic.
I guess we can go on and start with the females since Reef is racing. So she will need to finish, or she'll have to do another one to validate her Kona slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they finish competitively stipulation in the validation thing, so she can't walk it and finish in 15 hours. I mean, honestly, I don't think that she would want to. I think that might be more damaging than just getting it done in 9.5 hours or whatever. So we'll see. It's just, this will be a good workout for her. Then they'll make her nice and fit for 70.3 Worlds in Kona. We'll just look at it that way.
Yeah, definitely doesn't want to probably put herself too much in a hole. But I mean, I think we thought last week was going to be a workout, and the real race is going to be this weekend. So we have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. You don't know like how easy she's going to take it. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, she'll be, there'll be some gals up there like Emma Billum needs to do well to kind of secure a Kona slot. Celine Shearer, number 42, is a solid swimmer, as is Karen Thibodeau. Lauren Capone just finished 3rd at Eagleman, and I think Tri-Soto team. So look for her. Kristen Moeller, good cyclist and runner, and she had that hypothermia issue at Frankfurt. So we'll see how she goes. Natasha Bodman's on the list. I don't know for sure if she's racing. She's been on a lot of lists.
The girl from Brazil, Montecilia.
Yeah, and she's also on the Lake Placid list. So I don't know exactly where I thought she was on the Lake Placid list. It might have been an earlier list, but she needs to race to qualify because she had not a great finish at Ironman Brazil. She had some bike problems, so she needs to do well. Alyssa Godesky from the United States is there. She just did Ironman UK last weekend, so she's doing her yearly double race weekend. So, I mean, it's a competitive field, not the strongest field, but it's representative of kind of what we've seen all year, I think.
Yeah, it has a couple people that should be looking for some Kona spots, and some other people that should have an interesting mix.
Yeah. And then the men, I mean, you got to look at Ronnie. I'm going to attempt to say his last name, but he's won this race 8 times, and he won it 7 times in a row, and then took a break in 2014 and in Frankfurt, and then came back and won it last year. So I'd say he knows this race pretty well. And, I'll make him my favorite. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he should be the favorite, obviously, since he's won this race so many times. But I wouldn't look past. I think Timo Brock, I thought, was on the list. Is he off? Nope, he's still down there. Number 73.
Okay. Yeah, and he did real well at Lanzarote earlier in the year, so he's definitely strong. He'll be someone who moves up after the swim. Fraser Cartmell's on the list, but I think I don't think actually he did UK last weekend. Can't remember. And then Bernard Billard, Marcus Fockbach is a good cyclist. I think Mike Schifferly did UK last year or last weekend, so he might not be racing. And Harry Wiltshire also did UK last weekend, so I don't think he'll be racing. Matty Troutman's on the list, number 70.
Yep.
He's someone to look out
David
for.
Cleese is on the list.
Yep, and Richie Nichols, good runner. He's had some off races, but I remember Brett Sutton kind of touting him a bit a couple years ago. So he's talented. Um, so kind of the same thing with the women. Some solid people, and then some Europeans we maybe haven't heard of have a shot to do well too.
Yeah, it should be an interesting race. Obviously, this is the last weekend for July qualifying points for Ironman. So I think this is a 2,000 point race. So good points for top three. And we should be looking for some people in the top three to get in the last little July slots, I think.
Yep. That's what you have. A lot of people who are in those, slots that are going to kind of where the shuffling are happening are going to be the people who are racing. All right. Should we go over to Iceland and inaugural, I can't say that. First race in Iceland.
Yeah. Challenge is holding a race in Iceland. It looks like, I'm going to say they probably gave some travel money or, a little money to show up for this race because they got a pretty decent list. Some bigger names. Let's go over, I guess, the course. Do we know any course information on this new race?
Yeah, it's a one loop swim. I did look, it's going to be raining and like 57 degrees. So definitely cooler, higher latitude. And I'm sure they get quite a bit of daylight since they're so far north. But one loop swim, point to point bike with some climbing, actually. There's a short climb that has like a 20% maximum grade. The rest of it looks pretty kind of gradual and nothing longer than like 2.5 kilometers. And then the run is kind of a T shape, like you run out and then you run one way and then run all the way back a different way and then run back and then take the T part back. Gradual hills, nothing crazy. So it's for people who like
colder. So the Canadian Heather Wortell will be there.
Yes, and she did well in the cold in St. George. So I'm sure this is her type of race. I mean, no one wants it to be pouring and cold, but a little drizzle, I'm sure, is fine. And she trained in Victoria for a long time, Canada. So she'll be used to that. I think she'll be a little bit behind out of the water. You got Radka Vodakova, and then Haley Chura as well is starting. So Haley will probably lead out of the water, and then I feel like people like Heather Wortell and Tyne Deckers might be moving up on the bike, and Radka can hold her own on the bike in the run. So I look for her, her to be on the podium as well. I'm thinking like Heather, Radka, Tyne, maybe something like that.
Yeah, the list we have Jody, but I think you mentioned that she is not racing. So
yeah, Jody Swallow's out. And then the men's list, you got Brad Caulfield. We haven't seen him much this year. I think he had an injury before Ironman Australia in May, so he's just getting back into it. So we'll see how he fares. Tim Don, Kevin Collington, Brad Williams, first race after the birth of his son. I'm sure he's getting a little bit more sleep since he's away for a couple of days. So maybe that'll give him some extra mojo.
He was going to jolt up Friday, I think, afternoon, race, and then head back.
Oh, because it's Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's pretty sure it's a Saturday race. So I think I thought I remember him saying he was going to just basically jolt up, race, and jolt back, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I think you might be right, but still, that Friday night, he'll probably get more sound sleep than he has in a while.
Probably.
And Justin Metzler also, he just did the Racine duathlon, and then flew up to Reykjavik. So, I mean, I think, and Tim Don was in Racine, but he got a flat, like a kilometer out of the bike start. So, sure he is ready to go. And maybe, some steep reclines suit him. He's a smaller guy. And Kevin's been doing well. He was 4th at St. George. So kind of look for those people to be out in front.
All right, let's move another body of water over to the New York City Marathon, or no, sorry, not marathon, New York City Triathlon.
Yes. I emailed them. We got the start list. And on the men's side, I mean, the people that pop out to me are probably Cam Dye and Ben Collins. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm going through the list. Yeah, I mean, Ben Collins, Cameron Dye. I mean, it looks like there's only like 6 or 7 guys in the list, anyways. Um,
yeah, I think the money only pays like 3 deep. So it's not great money. And, the swim it's that down current swim. So it's a super fast swim. So it keeps everything a little closer. So if one of these guys is a runner, I mean, that helps, because they'll be close on the swim.
yeah, and then the female list actually has quite a few good names. Sarah Haskins, Hella is on the list. The Wosners are both on the list. Aaron Jones, and then Caitlin
Yeah.
Donner, Heather Lindaway.
Yeah.
So the female list is actually really nice. And with an Olympic race, it should be interesting having a little ITU action and then some of the longer course ladies.
Yeah, and Erin Jones just won. She did the Rev 3 race in Williamsburg, and that was a non-draft race. And she won there. I believe she ran Laurel past Laurel on the run, so she might lose a little bit of time on the swim, but or I'm sorry, not the swim, the bike. But then she won't. She'll be able to come back on the run. She's a strong runner, and it's the one kind of X factor this weekend is it's going to be really, really hot. They start early, but it's still going to be humid and sticky. So if someone doesn't put too much out too early, they might blow up a little bit in Central Park, running those hills.
Yeah, that's like a really early start, though. I mean, we're not talking like 7 a.m. I want to say that you go off in the swim, like right when that sun comes up, you're going like 6:15 or something.
Yeah, I mean, it might even be in the fives. It's like crazy.
It's
So,
crazy early, and yeah, so it won't be as hot, but it's definitely humid in the mornings.
oh yeah, it's going to be really, really sticky. So, they'll feel the effects of it for sure. All right, we'll go to Lake Placid in upstate New York now. We got a women's pro race. This is our first weekend where they split the pro fields between Lake Placid and Whistler. So you got Heather Jackson. I think she's got to be a pretty big favorite, fifth at Kona last year, and it seems that she's kind of been focusing on this race quite a bit and wants to put on a good show. So, and she's gotten better at kind of the Ironman pacing. So I would look out for her. Alicia Kay is trying to get a little more experience. It's going to be nicer weather than Texas, though. It's going to be maybe a high of 78 and sunny. So that should be good. Not
Yeah,
like
Jackson
Texas.
needs to finish. This is her, in theory, her validation race since basically she's top 10 or something in points.
Yeah.
So she just needs to finish. But yeah, looks like she's been focusing on this the whole year. So don't look for her just to take it easy.
No, I mean, and this is a good time. Like you can do a hard race and then get some recovery and then do a final build to Kona. I think she'll probably be fine. The person I'd look for that could get on the podium is Beth Shutt, number 15. She's had some solid races in the past, and she's a really good cyclist and runner. So she is someone who will be kind of moving up all day, and she's not afraid to be patient on the bike and then run people down. So I would look out for her.
I wonder if we'll get any updates on this race since there's no males in the race, because Ironman usually just stops their tweets after the males start coming across the finish line. So
My husband was actually saying that when we were at Buy Man. He's like, they just stopped tweeting.
they do. It's like they just stop, and you're like, "Is the race over? Like, have they finished?"
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully maybe they'll do better since they only have to focus on the women. So, all right. Now we'll go to yes, Calgary. We didn't talk about the Placid course, but there's some hills on the bike and the run. There's some hills on the run. So, it's a tough one. All right, Calgary, still moving west, a 70.3. The one thing about Calgary is remember all the big debacle in the swim last year where some people might have done the whole swim, some people maybe didn't. There was a
And I didn't
sprint
know.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magley, I believe, got DQ'd. So hopefully they've sorted that situation.
Yeah, and I think this is actually kind of a confusing swim. At least like you can sight off the wrong buoy if you look up real fast. You're like, oh, there's a buoy. I'm going that way or something. Like it's one of the more I think confusing swims, but yeah, hopefully they fixed it. So yeah,
Yeah, maybe with the buoys, less is more. You
yeah,
know, like you don't need to put a buoy like every 2 feet. Like maybe that's and a sighting buoy and then a turn buoy. Like that's too much. The bike is point to point and it's pretty fast. It's kind of a net downhill, and then the run is an out and back. So on the run, you only get to see your competition at the turnaround. So that can be, that could make a difference. You just don't know how fast someone's coming or not coming up on you. So
all right. Well, for the men, basically the start list is Amberger, Simons, Paul Matthews, Matt Lieto, um,
Schumacher,
Schumacher.
Justin Messler is in Iceland. We know that, so he's not on there. And
We
then
haven't seen Jeff in a while.
no, I mean, because he was supposed to start Texas and then got the elbow thing, and no, he hasn't. I think he did like maybe a local race up in Canada, but he hasn't done any WTC races. So, um, be good to see kind of what form he has, and I don't know what he's doing as far as Kona is concerned because I don't think he has the points as of right now.
Yeah, I don't even know where he sits. Like, I don't even. Um,
Probably back because he didn't have a great race in Kona and then he wasn't able to race a championship race. So I don't even know if Kona is in the cards for him. So maybe he's someone who's going to focus on like a fall Ironman to win and then just get sorted for Kona for 2017.
he needs a lot. He needs a win here and a win at a 2,000 point race.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, Josh Ammer, he just was second at Coeur d'Alene. So, I mean, and he'll be out in front hammering the bike. Matt Lieto was eighth at Vineman in a really solid field. Steve Mantell, number 8, was chasing Matt down and just didn't get him. So, I mean, I think it'll be a good race out in front for the men. I think now you're seeing people starting to take their breaks before getting into a good block before 70.3 Worlds. We're getting really close to the business end of the season, so to speak.
Yeah, should be a decent race for the men. Obviously, like the start list is not packed, but it has some people that should make it an interesting race at least.
Yep. And then the women's side, Corbin, Seymour, and Robertson, Jody Robertson, are all out. So it hasn't been updated, but you still have Rachel McBride is your course record holder, and she's back. And I think she's someone who's going to get fitter and stronger every race. She's coming back from some foot issues. So she was conservative at Victoria, pushed it a bit more at Vineman, and kind of faded the last few miles of the run. And then I think she'll be stronger here. So be interesting to see how she goes. I mean, Jen Spielander did really well at Vineman, almost got to third, just like 2 seconds out of third. And she put in a good block of training up in Flagstaff with the triathlon squad. So she'll be out in front out of the swim, and I'm sure gunning for. She likes to win, so she wants hugs from Paulo. The dangerous person is Melindy Elmore. She's so strong on the run; she can definitely run people down.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing that some of the girls they're not starting this race because I think it made for a lot more interesting race. But nonetheless, it should be a decent race, and we'll see who comes ahead on this one.
Yeah, and I mean Liz Lyles is on the list. I don't know
Yeah.
for sure if she's going to be there, but she had that great race in Brazil. I'm sure she's just building back up. I think she's going to do Penticton and then Kona. So I'm sure she's getting fit and she's always dangerous. Robin Pomeroy did well at Vineman. Um, so yeah, you lost some heavy hitters with Seymour and Corbin, and Robertson as well, but it's par for the course for this end of the season. People are like, "Oh, I'll race," and it's like, "Nah, maybe it just doesn't quite fit." So there you go.
All right. Well, we have one last race this weekend. We have Ironman Canada. It's the male only race, and counterpart to the female only race in Lake Placid.
Yeah. So Whistler, I checked the weather because remember last year it was freezing. Um, it's going to be sunny and 78, so it should be nice. Um, no one's going to freeze, hopefully. Um, and then the bike course, 2 loops on the swim. The bike course is kind of a descent, and then you have a climb, a long section of flat, and then another climb. So it has a bit of everything. Run is 2 loops with some rolling hills.
Yeah. So it looks like this start list is updated because some of the bib numbers are missing. So we have Trevor Wortell, Andy Potts, Justin Dare, Mikey's on the list, Callum's on the list, Pedro Gomes.
And Elliot Holtzman, number 12, he did pretty well like a year or two ago at Ironman Australia, racing at home in Canada. He might be someone that surprises you and ends up near the top. Um, but you can't look past Andy Potts. I mean, I know it's quote unquote his validation race, but he was on good form at Vineman, and he's done late races like this. He did Placid a few times and then raced well in Kona. So this falls at the same time. So I'm sure he's going to be super strong and he'll be out of the water in the front. So I would definitely look out for Andy.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of scared to watch Andy race as far as scary good. Just because at the beginning of the season, like it just didn't look like he was on form, and then he kept falling off a couple start lists, it looked like. But man, Vineman, just the competition there and then the race and his emotion at the finish line looked like I have this. Like I'm back to where I need to be. It just looked like the race went his way. He put it in some nice little run surges and broke everybody. And it looked like he was excited about his race.
Yeah, I think so. And Andy likes to win a lot. So he doesn't go into a race to just validate. Like he wants to win. Like if he's going to a race, he's going to try to win. So unless shit hits the fan, he's there to win. But I mean, someone like Trevor Wortell, I mean, he's going to be behind out of the swim. We know that, but he's strong on the bike and the run. And if someone falters a little bit and doesn't take the right nutrition or just has a bad patch, like not saying that someone has to have a bad patch for Trevor to catch them, but I mean he can run people down and bike people down. So you have to look out for that. I mean, like Callum Millward, he was super strong in New Zealand, so he wasn't afraid to push Cam Brown, and I'm sure if he's ready to race, he's not going to be afraid to push Andy Potts. So we'll just have to see. I mean, Callum went for it with Cam Brown, and the wheels kind of fell off the last few Ks, but he was there. And then, you have someone like Mikey who likes to bike real fast. So he might be pushing it out in front. And are people going to try to go with him? And is that a good idea? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, Trevor has done good this year, and you mentioned like he doesn't need other people to falter to have a good race. He's been on several podiums this year, and he has a chance to make Kona. So it's not, he could even qualify for the July slots. I think a top 3 would get him close. Win obviously gets him there, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, I don't think he's holding back. I mean, even Justin Dare wouldn't hold back. I feel like he's got some, he's got the goods too.
yeah, I mean, and Justin Dare, didn't he had a pretty solid race at Texas? So he's still fit and ready to go. And I know Trevor has been targeting this race. I think he wrote about it early in the year. So he's going to be, on his game and ready to go. And the weather looks good. It's a wetsuit swim. That's good for Trevor. He's not going to be freezing out of the water. That kind of helps limit his losses to the front. And I mean, he's racing at home and in Canada, and that's always good, and I'm sure he knows the course and he knows the road and he knows the descent. So he's going to be pushing it. I just think Trevor needs to just ride steady and ride a good solid ride, and then he'll be able to run really well off the bike.
Yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting race, and basically all the races this time of year, there's some couple quality people, and then a bunch of other people that will see what they can do. None of the start lists are short, as in number of entries, but as far as top quality, there's a couple people on every list.
Yep, for sure. And then, it all continues next weekend. We have another Ironman next weekend. So even if you don't make the July cutoff, there's going to be people racing hard in end of July, early August. So there's more to come.
Yes, definitely. Well, we want to thank Rudy Project for sponsoring us. You get 40% off by using the code TRYPREVIEW.
Yep. And thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back next week.